do, the hours that they spend to getting it right, and bringing the right type of player and person in the building. And so to that point, it says they've been fantastic. Welcome them with open arms. The way in which they approach the people in the building, they understand what we are about. He talked about family. The way that these guys.
Head coach Jamal Mosley also heard from Jace Richardson and Noah Pinda, the draft picks of the Orlando Magic. Excited to see them on the court this upcoming season. Well, we appreciate you joining us here on Florida Live this afternoon. I'll be out next week, but you'll be in really good hands still during the week, 2 o'clock right here on Fox Local and on YouTube. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Good afternoon to you. Welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I am Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock, and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom today. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4, Fox 35 News anchor and reporter Marlisa Goldsmith. And Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us.
Happy to be here. Happy Friday to you, Garrett.
Happy Friday to you. We start with a big national story. This one, a Supreme Court ruling that really could have a lot of impacts.
Yeah, it really could. So the Supreme Court made a ruling on the case involving President Donald Trump's birthright citizenship order. They ruled in favor of the Trump administration, voting to partially stay or suspend the lower court rulings about birthright citizenship while this case is pending in the courts. Now, you may remember this case stemmed from the president's order to end birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants. The justices didn't rule on the merits of Trump's efforts to end birthright citizenship, just on whether federal judges have the authority or the ability to issue national injunctions against the executive branch. Birthright citizenship has been upheld over a century now, rooted in the 14th Amendment and reinforced by past court rulings.
You bring up the injunctions, and that's kind of the big takeaway here today is the restrictions on those injunctions, because this is something that we have heard from the Trump administration really complaining about for months now, about the judiciary being able to, about a single district judge being able to block implementation of a law essentially across the entire country, just based on one case in their district. And they have had strong words about that. Had them again today at a news conference where Attorney General Pam Bondi likened some of these judges to emperors, and she said that this kind of restores basically what they see as the rule of law. They said this was a grave threat to democracy in their eyes, that the judges were able to do this. And the Attorney General said this about how most of the injunctions that we have seen putting holds on executive actions from the Trump administration have been from a small number of the same ones.
federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that, 94 districts. And 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have blocked our policies from tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that.
We also heard from President Trump at a news conference, and he talked about some of the cases now that they are going to be able to move forward with. Birthright citizenship, obviously one of them, now that these injunctions are limited and not across the entire country.
Hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
That was President Trump earlier today, and we know next term, so in October, is when we expect the Supreme Court to rule on the merits of that birthright citizenship case and whether the administration's actions are constitutional or not. Story number 2, and that is we know Sheriff Marcos Lopez has an arraignment scheduled for Monday after he bonded out of jail yesterday evening.
Yeah, that was a major development that we saw. We watched it live on our air on Fox 35. We watched it happen. The suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez, he bonded out of the Lake County Jail in Tavares, Florida yesterday. Now, this is after he spent 3 weeks behind bars, and our cameras were there rolling as he walked out. When you see this clip, you'll see he did not say a single word, address a single reporter who was out there. Take a look.
Okay, yep, I'm here.
Sheriff Lopez, do you agree with the accusations? Sheriff Lopez, do you agree with the charges? Sheriff Lopez, do you agree with the accusations? Sheriff Lopez, how does it feel to be on the other side of the perp walk? How does it feel, Sheriff? What is your message, Sheriff?
Quite the scene there,
Yes.
and like you said, not a single word.
Not a single word. And Garrett, just for perspective about this process moved relatively quickly. We got word that he met the requirements in order to post bail. And remember, he had a $1 million bail set, or bond rather, and he met that. But there were some requirements. The judge required that he only used, I don't want to say clean money, but money that was not involved.
He had to prove that it wasn't part of a criminal enterprise, because he is facing charges basically of racketeering for allegations that he was involved in a criminal enterprise.
Yes, in this alleged ring.
And that
gambling ring.
And that was a process that took a while, because we saw many of the other defendants bond out fairly quickly. He was in jail for 3 whole weeks. 3 weeks. Within
a matter of 24 hours to a couple of days, some of his co-conspirators in this case, they were able to bond out. And I don't know if you saw on the bottom row on the right side, that was his wife, Robin. She was arrested earlier this week. She still remains behind bars in the Lake County Jail, facing, I believe it's a $400,000 bond. And again, there's looks like somebody just pulled up right in front of our shot there.
But that is a live look outside the Lake County Jail where, as you mentioned, Robin Lopez is still being held. As for the arraignment on Monday, we know that Marcos Lopez and his attorneys have already basically filed a waiver so that he does not have to appear in court. So we don't expect him to be there in the courtroom for this arraignment or for many of the other hearings as well, kind of going forward. We spoke earlier with defense attorney Jose Rivas, who is not affiliated with this case, but has a lot of knowledge that he shares with us. And he talked about some of the reasoning for that.
You're probably not going to see Marco Lopez in court anytime soon. Typically what happens is the attorney can waive his presence at the arraignment, any other pretrial conferences, what we call status conferences, right? They're going to be waived. He will have to be appeared primarily either whether it's going to be a plea, negotiation, or a trial. But this type of case could take, anywhere from 6 months or even a year, or even longer by the time all the investigation is done and all the defense has been built. It's typically it's typical. Anyone that has a private attorney, we can waive their presence in court. There's no reason to go to court whatsoever. All the judge is going to say is, this is what you've been charged with. Do you have an attorney? The criminal defense attorneys have already presented what we call a notice of appearance to the court. So they've already presented to the court. They're going to get all the notifications. You can waive the presence. The Florida statute allows you to waive the presence, which in this particular case, it's funny, the court required a very high bond, a GPS, but did not require that he be present at every court hearing. There are some cases that judges do require, but usually that's for a large flight risk, right? Those are at a high flight risk. But, granted that you have such a high bond, the judge did not require him to be present.
So we don't expect to see him necessarily in court, but this is just the beginning of what is going to be a lengthy process, especially because there are several co-defendants. That was something else we talked about with Jose Rivas, how that kind of complicates the process, especially when one of those co-defendants still has not been arrested.
Yeah, she's out of the country allegedly, and they have not been able to track her down and arrest her.
Story number 3, and that is today we learned that the so-called Alligator Alcatraz temporary ICE detention camp in the Everglades is set to open on Tuesday.
Can we just talk about how impressive it is that they've managed to move this quickly, Garrett? I mean,
it has been a fast process.
It does not seem like that long ago that the governor made the announcement. He came up with the idea of Alligator Alcatraz. So this is an abandoned Florida airport that you're looking at here, looking at video of. This is in the middle of the Everglades, so surrounded by swamplands, surrounded by plenty of gators and pythons. Governor Ron DeSantis was on Fox and Friends this morning talking about his goals for Alligator Alcatraz, and he said that this facility is going to be able to house up to 3,000 illegal immigrants, and there's a runway there on the grounds as well if planes need to come in and out when it comes to deporting illegal immigrants. Now, he says that this is going to help ICE operations and satisfy President Trump's mission as it takes the task out of the hair of local and state law enforcement. The governor says this will have no impact on Florida residents. And by Tuesday, he says the facility is going to be open and ready to intake illegal immigrants. That's just days away.
Just days away. They said it holds about 3,000 people there. And Governor DeSantis this morning on Fox and Friends gave a bit of a look around, a tour of the facility, and showed Steve Ducey kind of what the area where those people were going to be held kind of looks like.
Okay, so there are 4 gigantic tents. Let's come on over here, Governor. And people are thinking, okay, you're in the middle of the Everglades. It's hot. That would explain why you've got this bank of air conditioners here.
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to be, illegals will come in, they'll be processed. There'll be places for them to be housed. You'll have an ability for food. You'll have an ability for them to consult legal rights if they have that, because there is a process that's involved with this. So this is really everything. This is going to be a self-contained little area. And then, of course, you also have stuff for the staff that work here. So we've got laundry facilities, we've got showers, we've got, obviously, there you see the shower and bath facilities.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Where do you go to get a bunch of bathrooms like that?
Well, so this is being done by the Division of Emergency Management. So when we have a hurricane, like we would actually have people stage here for hurricane response normally.
And you mentioned the long runway there. He said that will allow for when they help with deportations, but also he said standing invitation for President Trump to land Air Force One on it and come check it out.
It's an open invitation. He said that he believes the president will be very impressed with the work that they're doing.
Story number 4, give you a live look right now at Kia Center, home of the Orlando Magic. And earlier today, we were introduced to the Magic's new draft picks.
Yes. So last night, the Magic got the 32nd overall pick. It was Noah Pinda from the Boston Celtics in a multi-asset trade. There he is there on the left. Pinda starred in France and he won MVP at the L&B Young Player All-Star Game. He's joining Orlando's young core. You all know we have a young team. He's going to be wearing jersey number 93. The Magic acquired the overall pick from the Celtics in a trade there. He also is going to be joining Jace Richardson, who was a star from Michigan State. If the name sounds familiar, eerily familiar, it's because his dad was a star in the NBA. He also played for a couple of years here in Orlando, so he has some deep-rooted history in his family.
Yeah, and he was at this event earlier today. We had the chance to speak with him. We'll hear from him a little bit later in the show, but I do want to play a soundbite from Jeff Weltman, the president of basketball operations, talking about how these two guys that they drafted, he's just said they really just have the magic DNA.
We believe that we've landed two great young men and great young players. And the exciting part for us is always, as you guys know, we look for the person before the player, and we feel that these two young guys have, you know, our magic DNA. They're about others. That reflects itself on the court. And, you know, I always say you can tell the person by the way he plays. And these two guys right here, they look a lot different, but they're quite the same in that they both are givers, you know. And I think, I hope that they grow into our team in that respect, and look forward to that happening.
Yeah, so exciting to see them, to welcome them to the team, to the area, and we'll see how they do on the court too.
Yeah, I think a lot of Magic fans and people who may not call themselves fans are going to be excited about this season. We have a young team, we have fresh blood on the team, and I think that what we saw last season is just a preview of what we can see for the future. They did some good work coming from previous years.
And they've definitely taken some steps to improve some of those weak spots, so hopefully that'll make a difference as well.
Absolutely.
That is today's Top 4 at 4. Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard joins me now. And Laurel, once again, looking at the threat of some storms today. So it's Fox 35 Weather Impact Day.
Yeah, Fox 35 Weather Impact Day, and we are already starting to see some severe thunderstorm warnings pop up. So let's just get right to the radar. We'll start off in areas across Osceola County. We can see a severe thunderstorm warning just popping up. We're also keeping an eye on one in Sumter County as well. So doing a little bit of a close in just on the severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for Osceola County, so this includes Kissimmee, and this is going to be in effect until 4:45. So if you are in this area, make sure you're inside and making sure, again, you're away from any windows, just to make sure, again, you're being safe, especially as we are seeing a lot of lightning and very gusty winds out there. Also seeing a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Sumter County as well, and that is in effect until 4:30. But some of these storms are definitely going to pack a punch. Lightning and wind are going to be the two #1 threats through the rest of the day today, as well as seeing some very heavy downpours through the rest of the day as well. So possibly seeing a few more of these severe thunderstorm warnings popping up. But breaking down the radar, starting at the busiest area, we are seeing a lot of lightning strikes and very heavy rain now starting to move over the Florida Turnpike into Osceola County and Orange County. So heads up, maybe seeing some delays at the airport. And this is going to be making its way through into the Space Coast. So this, all these storms making their way eastward through the rest of the evening. So if you are out on the beach right now, maybe you want to start to come in because these storms are headed your way. Starting to see a little bit of a break, but more storms starting to pop up across Seminole County as well as parts of Orange County. And we're going to again see all of these storms making their way eastward as we head through the rest of the evening. These storms going to continue to pick up probably for the next hour or so before they finally start to calm down and once again make their way off the Space Coast. But right now, Gainesville, Ocala, seeing a couple of splash and dash storms, but again, some of these storms going to become more intense through the next hour. So that's what we're seeing on our radar currently. Let's check out some cameras. Very heavy rain over our iDrive camera right now. Also seeing some very heavy rain as well as very gusty winds over our Lakeview Fairview camera. But other than that, if we do take a look at our Daytona camera, totally different story. The rain isn't there quite yet, but you can see a lot of people on the beach in just a beautiful beach afternoon. However, it's not going to stay that way through the rest of the evening. So make sure, again, you are staying aware of where that forecast and keeping tabs on where those storms are so you can find shelter as quickly as possible. But with these storms right now, again, they're making their way off the coastline, and that's exactly why we're going to be, again, keeping an eye on these threats through the rest of the overnight tonight, seeing that wind possibly up to 60 miles per hour, very vivid lightning, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did see some of those stronger storms, seeing the possibility of a couple of hail pockets thrown in there as well. All of these storms making their way off the Space Coast, which is a little bit different because all of these storms, especially for the past couple of days, have been making their way off the West Coast. Big pattern change today. So again, just make sure you're keeping your eyes to the skies on this one, because as we head through the rest of the evening, some of these storms still definitely going to pack a punch as they slowly start to collapse. Seeing those storms slowly making their way off the Space Coast and kind of fizzling out through the overnight tonight. Things should be pretty quiet though by around midnight as we head into the weekend. Pretty much the same on Saturday. However, not seeing as much of a severe chance though. Seeing those storms popping up at about 2:30, continuing to make their way from west to east, and we're really just going to be seeing some widespread showers and thunderstorms continuing to make their way through the area through your Saturday afternoon. So really getting into the heart of the rainy season here, and that's why we're going to be really keeping an eye on things this weekend, especially as we continue to see some of those showers.
Yeah, and especially watching out for all that lightning like you've been talking about. Now let's talk a little tropics. The Saharan dust is more of it on the way, but you're also looking at a little blob there in the Gulf as well.
Yeah, we are, and we'll talk about that in a second, but we do have a lot of Saharan dust in the atmosphere. This is what's going to create brilliant sunsets over the next couple of days, but you'll probably also notice those skies are going to look a little milky as well. So going to continue to see more of that haziness in the air, and if you do have allergies like me, you may be suffering a little bit over the next couple of days. We're going to see another plume roll in as we take a look ahead to next weekend, and then keeping an eye on almost 2 more waves that could affect us as we head towards mid-July. But we're going to be watching the Saharan dust very closely. We had Andrea. Next name on the list is going to be Barry. And as we do take a look, there was actually, Garrett, a invest. I thought I had a graphic in here about that. But that little blob that we were talking about just a couple minutes ago, that is now at a 30% chance, and that officially is now an invest of an operation there. So we're going to continue to monitor that as it continues to make its way into the Bay of Campeche. Right now, a 30% chance. Luckily, though, no threat to us here in the United States. So that's good. Most likely going to make its way over Mexico and then slowly fizzle out from there.
All right. And looking ahead, we are 1 week out from July 4th. And we know a lot of folks may be traveling for that, especially with it being on a Friday, got a long weekend. So give us our early look at that 4th of July weekend forecast.
Yeah, early look, things can still change a little bit, but right now, as we're in the heart of the rainy season, we're going to see those sea breeze storms start to kick back into gear. And this is what's going to create some widespread showers through the afternoon and evening. Very typical Florida weather as we take a look ahead towards next weekend. But for your 7-day, things are going to be looking pretty consistent. There's that graphic that I was talking about right there. So you can see that little invest right there, 30% chance. It's going to continue to make its way into Mexico. And then here's that model right there. We can possibly see that pick up a little bit more as it makes its way off the coast of Mexico and possibly make landfall in Mexico. But again, with spaghetti models, once we get an invest, spaghetti models start to come out and we can see those mainly track this invest in towards Mexico. So that's what we're going to keep very focused on as we head through the next couple of days. But back to 4th of July weekend. It's going to be a long weekend. 4th of July is on a Friday this year. So we are going to be looking at about a 50% chance of rain as we take a look ahead towards next week. Little bit far out to really hammer down plans, but of course, Florida in the summer, you can definitely depend on a couple of storms popping up across the region as we head through the afternoon and evening of every single day for the next 7 days.
All right, Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us. On Monday afternoon, Johnny Noviello, a Canadian national who was arrested in Volusia County, ended up dying in ICE custody at the Federal Detention Center in downtown Miami. He was awaiting deportation there and had been held there for the last 6 weeks. Noviello's family says he had epilepsy and was on seizure medication at the time, but we don't know right now what his cause of death is. This afternoon, I talked with Claire Healy, who's an Esserman Investigative Fellow with the Miami Herald, about what we know about his death and other deaths in the custody of ICE across the country and in Florida.
We don't have a preliminary cause of death. The medical examiner's office said that it's still under investigation. What we do know is that he was found unresponsive in his cell by staff on Monday, and the staff attempted to resuscitate him and were unsuccessful.
What do we know about Johnny Noviello and what brought him here and what ended up kind of taking him to that detention center in Miami?
Yeah, so I spoke with his father, I spoke with his lawyer, and what we know about him was he was a Canadian citizen. He moved to Daytona Beach when he was about 10 years old, in 1986, I believe, 1986, 1988, 88. And so he grew up in Florida. He grew up in Daytona Beach. He came here legally on a legal visa. He got his green card in 1991. And then in 2017, him and his father were both charged with selling opioids out of their family auto shop. And so in 2023, he was convicted of that and he served some time in jail. And he was released for a year on community control, so basically house arrest. And then he was put on probation. He was put on probation in February of this year. And in May, he was picked up at the probation office by ICE. And they initiated removal proceedings against him, which can happen to green card holders who have been convicted of certain crimes. And he was placed in ICE custody in the Federal Detention Center in downtown Miami for about 6 weeks before he passed away this Monday in the center.
I know you said you spoke with his father and with his attorney. What are they saying about his death?
Well, the family said, we are destroyed. You know, this is a great loss for them. His father was devastated, and so was the rest of his family. He is one of about, I think 2 of his brothers are here in Florida, but he's one of 6 siblings. And they just said this is devastating for the family, of course. And they had been trying to reach him for a while. They said they were having difficulty getting in touch with him. And so the father actually has not spoken to him for weeks. And before they were informed by the government of his passing, and this has just devastated the family. His lawyer, who represented him in his criminal case, said he was also shocked. He was really surprised, and he said, you know, obviously this is not a case where he does not have a criminal record, but the lawyer said that he was not posing any public safety risk, and so he was very surprised that ICE took him into federal custody. And he said that, you know, he did not believe that there was a need for this man to be in detention. So those were the conversations I had this week.
As you reported as well, he is the 9th person to die in ICE custody this year and the 4th in a Florida facility. What do we know about those other cases?
Right. So some of the cases, the cause of death is still under investigation. So the government releases extensive reports when someone died, you know, detailing the timeline leading up to their death under federal law. We do know that the other 3 who died this year, one was in Broward Transitional Center. She was a Haitian woman who passed away, and her official cause of death, I believe, is still pending. And the other 2 died after they were detained at Chrome, a detention center here just outside of Miami. And so my colleague and I did an investigation into those cases. One was a Honduran man, and the other was from Ukraine. And so we pulled as much of their medical history as we could. And what we found is, you know, both of them were ruled natural deaths. One died of a stroke, the Ukrainian man. And the other one, the Honduran man, the medical examiner's office said that he died of complications of schizoaffective disorder. And so we dug into that a bit, and the Honduran man, Henry Ruiz-Guillen, the experts that we talked to said, you know, that's not a sufficient cause of death. You don't really die of schizophrenia. You die of what happens, you know, different actions and medication. And so they said that basically this man's death raises a lot of questions. We don't know exactly why he died, and this explanation we were given doesn't quite make sense. And then what we found with the Ukrainian man, Maxim Chernak, who passed away in February, is that medical records show that staff at Chrome thought he may be intoxicated when he was found having a stroke. And so they waited about 40 minutes before calling an ambulance, which experts also raised concern about and said that, you know, every minute really counts when you're having a stroke. So that's what we know about the circumstances for the Florida deaths. The most recent death before Johnny Noviello was in Atlanta. He was a Mexican man, and the official cause of death, I believe, is again still under investigation, but it appears to be an apparent suicide.
You mentioned the report, the extensive reports that are put out on this. What's the next step with the death of Johnny Noviello, and when can we expect kind of that report to come with this?
So the next steps are that there is likely an autopsy being conducted to investigate his death and the circumstances around his death. And ICE must release that report that I mentioned within 90 days. So that should be coming within that 90-day window. You know, we know from his medical history, from his family, that he did have epilepsy and he was on seizure medication. And so I think the question, you know, in a lot of these deaths that are happening in ICE custody is really just, did they receive the medical treatment that they needed? Did they receive the medication that they needed? Did it come in time? And so those are what we'll be looking for in the report that comes out within the next 90 days and also in the autopsy.
Keep it here on Fox 35 News Plus. We'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. NASA has discovered a new planet with its James Webb Telescope, and joining us to tell us all about that is Fox 35's Esther Bauer, who joins us live now via Zoom. And Esther, I know you spoke to some experts today about this.
Yes, well, whenever I think we hear something like this, the experts were like, this is fabulous news because it just encourages everyone to look up and really think about what could be out there that we have never known about. This is a perfect example of that happening. So this brand new planet, these are the first released photos that NASA shared from its James Webb Telescope. Big deal for the telescopes. It's been in operation for about 3 years. This is the first time it's been able to track something down. So NASA's naming this TWA-7b. That just depends on all the calculations and kind of phasing that went into location of where this planet was found. And it's just exciting because we know there are 5,000 to 6,000 of these planets circulating outside of our solar system. NASA already knows that, but they're able to figure that out because they'll have different stars and planets going over the sun, so they can tell it via the light fading, but they've never been able to actually get it on film. Seeing it like this right there, this is a new planet. So that's what these experts said is just very cool about what the Webb telescope was able to capture. It's using heat, it's sensing heat in the telescope, and that's how it was able to pick up what we are seeing on screen. So the experts we spoke about are thrilled, and what they're ultimately saying is that this helps us. NASA saying this is a small, young cold planet, seeing something like this helps us learn more about our planet. We obviously can't go back in time to when the Earth was formed, but now being able to see this planet out there, research is just kicking off to figure out what it is made out of, kind of how it will react in its specific sphere. So that'll help us learn about Earth, which is very exciting. A lot more to learn, but the fact that we know that it's there, researchers are going to be diving in and trying to figure out anything else that they can.
Okay, but TWA7b is not really a catchy name.
No, it's
like,
not.
That's the best we can come up with for a new planet? Come on.
What? I will reach out and see if we can get a
Please
better
lodge my
nickname.
complaint. Yes.
Yes, I know. Maybe they will come up with something else. This is very new. It was just discovered, but they have all these different, data points and where they're looking and the geometry of where they are. So I know there's a reasoning behind the name, but it's definitely not like Saturn or Mars or stuff that we're used to. We did ask the experts, do we think life could be on this planet? I got some varied responses on that. One space source that we have ultimately said anytime he looks up, he really believes someone else is back at him. He definitely believes there's life out of Earth. What that is, he's not sure. He says human life is obviously very hard to find, but if we could be thinking about, like he said, blind cockroaches or something like that, he does think that that kind of life species could be out there, possibly on this planet. Another space source that we spoke with said he doesn't think life is on this planet right now, but he also says these types of planets are constantly moving. They're moving more than I think we realize. So he said maybe billions of years down the line, it could have moved into a different location where very well it could sustain life. So exciting stuff in the space world. And when you look up tonight, just know there's a new planet out there that we didn't know was there.
All right, exciting stuff there. Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate you joining us. It is certainly interesting to think about all those worlds beyond our own. So certainly a good perspective there. I want to go now to a story out of Orlando, where we know Orlando police earlier today went through some special training. And joining them for that training and joining us now is Fox 35's Chancellor Wynn. So, Chancellor, tell us a little bit about these training simulations and what you did with Orlando police earlier today.
So Orlando Police was nice enough to kind of put us through these training simulations that officers, they go through these similar training situations, but these allow for like these on-hand experiences, and it tries to simulate what an officer would encounter on a routine call. So as you can see, they helped us and taught me specifically, how to fire a taser, what they're aiming for, these specific portions. You can see the yellow portions, the chest, the face. That's what you're not trying to hit if you're firing a taser as an officer. You want to hit the middle section, the arms, the legs. But they also have other situations. The one you're looking at right there is a domestic violence call that actually escalated. This one was a person who was actually holding a woman hostage, and this was another domestic violence type situation. The reason they chose these were to show you, and me specifically, how these calls can easily and quickly escalate. And I can tell you, to me at least, we don't have all the training officers have, so we're just kind of jumping into it. It was extremely stressful. These decisions you make have to happen extremely quickly. You're trying to de-escalate the situation, trying to determine the proper use of force, and that's what these situations are for. So officers, when they go out into the real world on their patrols, they've already experienced something like this, so they have a better understanding and a better grasp as to how to handle the situations, how to de-escalate the situations, and how to keep everybody in that area safe.
Are these drills they kind of regularly do or every so often?
They tell me they're routine drills. They don't do them every day, but they do happen routinely. And correct me if I'm wrong, Garrett, I think we actually have a quick little video of me firing a taser. I'm not 100% sure. If we have that, you should take it.
Yes. Yeah, let's check it out.
Hey, drop the bat, sir! Drop the bat! Drop the bat! I'm gonna tase you! Drop the bat!
Chancellor, Chancellor,
really cool
I'm sorry. I just want to give you a little critique here. You kind of sound like me, like calling down my dog or something. It didn't seem very forceful.
And believe it or not, I have not screamed at a lot of people to drop weapons. What happened too often in my life? I want to point out real fast. So that one was a really unique one. It's a VR simulator. So it kind of can go a storyline. So whatever you say, whatever you choose, the person behind the computer can direct that program to go different routes and different paths. There was also one in person where you have actual police officers acting. They're playing roles and you're going through that simulation with them personally. But the simulator was a fake taser is what I'm going to call it. It doesn't, act like it. This one you see right here was a legitimate taser. I fired it. The cartridges went out. So you get an understanding as to how tough it was. We also did one, we don't have video of it, but it's where I'm jogging. And then I fire the taser, simulating a suspect running away. I was not as accurate as I was when I was standing still.
And newfound respect, I'm sure, after going through some of these things.
And it's tough not to be a little embarrassed when you're in there, but I know when the officers are going to those situations, they're a lot more serious. I was trying to be serious, but it's tough, man, and it definitely a newfound respect because that video, the whole time with me doing the first one you saw where I run in and the man's holding a woman with a knife, that felt like it was a 15-minute interaction with them. And in reality, it was like maybe 60 seconds. These things happen so quickly, and it is extremely stressful. My hands were sweaty. It was tough to even get the taser out of the holster there because it's just, how much your adrenaline's pumping, even in this fake situation, this simulated exercise.
Well, Chancellor, we appreciate you joining us and talking with us about it and look forward to seeing your story coming up on Fox 35 News.
Yeah, 6:30, Garrett. Be watching.
All right. We will certainly be doing that. In the meantime, you can maybe practice on that forceful yell.
I'm going to try.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Give you a live look right now from our iDrive camera looking toward the attractions, or at least looking toward the storm clouds and the rain. Not a whole lot else you can see right now as the rain is coming down in Orange County on this Friday afternoon. But some exciting theme park news to talk about. So we're going to bring in Drew Smith. You know him as Drew the Disney Dude, and thankfully he is inside and dry and beat those storms. Drew, I know you were out at Disney earlier today, and thankfully I think got out of it just in time, huh?
Yeah, you guys might even hear some lightning in the background, and I also apologize for looking like a sweaty mess, but that was because I was at Epcot. But yeah, Test Track got a first look and had an absolute blast. All right,
so talk to us a little bit. I know we've been talking about Test Track 3.0 for a while. Finally got the chance to check it out, to ride it. So just kind of give us your overall What'd you think?
Yeah, I do have to mention real quick that right now these are cast member previews. So I want to be very clear that the attraction officially opens on July 22nd. Today I went with my friend John, my best friend of 6 years. That's how I was able to go today. But yeah, my first impressions are this is the definitive version of Test Track. We've had a version before when it first opened, a version that opened back in 2012, and now this is Test Track 3.0, the unofficial name. And this is by far my favorite version ever of Test Track. Some of my earliest memories at Walt Disney World when I was a kid were the first version with John Michael Higgins as Bill McKim in the pre-show and being scared of, the car crashing into the wall and thinking that was actually going to happen. So Test Track has always had a special place in my heart personally. So to then get to cover this attraction through my social media and doing interviews with you and then finally getting to ride it today, it's pretty surreal. But yeah, I absolutely love this version, and going on it 6 times today and kind of being able to appreciate everything through all the rides. I want to go back already. So I think that just goes to show how much I loved it, and very happy with what Chevrolet and General Motors and Walt Disney Imagineering put together here.
First, you posted some videos on social media, and I want to get your thoughts, have you kind of break down for us the queue area, because things are quite a bit different there.
Yeah, so the queue now features 6 distinct exhibits. They celebrate vehicles and the people behind them. What you guys are seeing right now is where the design studio used to be in Test Track 2.0, where you would design your own car and then go test it. That is gone completely. There's exhibits there now, and I think that that's a massive upgrade. What you guys are seeing on screen right now is a first look when you first walk into the doors, when you're first walking into the building. That area is very open, it's warm, it's airy, it's welcoming, and I just think that they did a really nice job kind of promoting General Motors as a company and showcasing what they do as the promotion for this pavilion, but also the fact that what you're looking at is cool. So like, it doesn't feel like an ad by any means. These futuristic vehicles and all the videos showing the people actually working on everything, I think is awesome. And yeah, I definitely want to take more time appreciating these things. What you guys are seeing right here is my favorite part of the entire queue. This is a nod to the original World of Motion attraction back from the 80s, where you could actually see the ride vehicles going up the building, and the original Test Track, the original version where you could see the ride vehicles. They brought that back here for Test Track 3.0. I was waving to people for like 5 minutes. It's so simple, but it's so fun.
Now, what's the vibe here of the ride, and how is it different from the other previous versions of Test Track?
Yeah, so it's funny because like I think a lot of people were like expecting a futuristic ride, which it is, but at the same time I feel like it leans perfectly into Epcot's history and the physical show set elements. Like I was very impressed with how much of this ride is physical. What you all are seeing right now is the joyride scene. You're pretty much going through like a forest type scene, and then at the very end you see kind of like an overlook with like the sunset, and you can actually hear birds chirping here. There's even scents of like the pine trees, and they brought back the original song also from World of Motion, It's Fun to Be Free. And like the narrators on the ride vehicle say, sure, it's always fun to be free, and then the music starts playing. So like that was one of my biggest hopes as a diehard Disney fan and just nerding out over Epcot's history, is I want It's Fun to Be Free to come back. Sure enough, it did. And then you guys just saw right there, the that near miss moment with the truck is still there. But my biggest upgrade favorite part of the entire ride is right before you launch and going outdoors. What they did there is just absolutely visually stunning.
You said this is your favorite version of Test Track. Why?
Yeah, I just think that they delivered on what they said they were going to do, and it's just an absolute blast. I'm a big fan of whenever Disney leans into their history while also making something new and fresh for the general family visiting Walt Disney World to enjoy. So when someone like myself can appreciate those little Easter eggs, but it doesn't take away from the general guest experience, if that makes sense, and to where the general family visiting can just have fun on this ride. The quality of the on-ride experience is better than anything we've seen before. The visuals, the storyline, how you're kind of seeing things through how a car would see them, just massive lighting. Sorry if you guys heard that. But the creative direction about how you're seeing things through a car's point of view. Like one of the narrators on the ride is like, yeah, well, I can see that because it's the car's technology. It's hard to describe, but whenever you're experiencing it and the story's being told as you're moving, it's really, really fun. But yeah, it's my favorite because they delivered on what they said.
We've been talking about this for a while. I know you've been really excited for this.
Yeah.
Does it live up to the hype, Drew?
In my opinion, absolutely. And honestly, it exceeded my expectations in multiple ways because of the level of physicality we are seeing in this ride, which I've already mentioned. But even where there's digital elements, the digital elements are done perfectly and the technology is used in the right way. sometimes people have a lot of feedback with screens, myself included, when it doesn't look right or it looks like a inexpensive option to save money. But here, when they're using digital effects, it enhances the story and what you're seeing. So it's done perfectly. And when you mix that with the physical stuff and this just being a fun ride, like the track layout, the thrills are just fun. So when you incorporate such a great story around those thrills, you can't go wrong. And Walt Disney Imagineering and General Motors nailed it, in my opinion.
All right, Drew Smith, Drew the Disney Dude, we appreciate you joining us. And again, Test Track 3.0 reopens July 22nd. So you rode it 6 times today. I'm sure you will ride it much more in the future.
Yeah, definitely going to be going on this one more.
All right, Drew, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, live look at the Kia Center, and you're seeing some traffic back up there on the interstate as well. But today, the Orlando Magic introduced their newest members of the team. We heard from first-round draft pick Jace Richardson and second-round draft pick Noah Pinda. We also heard from Jason Richardson, the father of Jace Richardson and a former Magic player himself.
All right, sorry, it was just a gut check. How are you feeling today?
I'm super excited, first of all. I mean, just be able to call myself an NBA player right now and get to meet the guys, meet the organization, it's really special right now.
Absolutely. What do you think the transition is going to be like coming from the college, playing in college to the NBA?
It's going to be a complete restart. I mean, when you get to college, you kind of get acclimated, you get accustomed, and then you just got the season going on. But now I'm on a whole new team, a whole bunch of different guys, a whole bunch of different coaches, so just definitely a restart.
So in the short term, like, what's next? Just practicing with the team? What are you looking at?
First, I got to figure out where to live. I think that's one thing I really got to figure out. But, just getting acclimated, meeting everybody, getting close with the guys, and then, just getting working.
Is there anyone that you're super excited to be working with or meeting, players, coaches, anyone?
I mean, there's a lot of Michigan guys, so I think that's one. Paulo, of course, what he's done the past couple of years, it's been impressive. And just the whole team and organization. I'm just really excited to be here, so I'm really excited to get to work.
I saw a video of you talking about that you saw your dad get emotional, and that was like really rare for him. Just what was that moment like? Did you get emotional? What was your family's reaction?
It was crazy. Hearing that name get called, and then as soon as I hugged my mother, tears started coming out my eyes because I just realized one of my dreams had just come true. And then seeing my dad tear up, he doesn't really get emotional, so it was kind of like awkward for me at a point. but then it's just like full embrace, and he was super excited for me, and just having all my family members and my close ones next to me supporting me, it was amazing.
I loved you talking about playing in Stuff's Playhouse. Do you have any other memories of being in Orlando when your dad played here?
I remember going to a couple of playoff games. Any single time he used to hit a three, they played Jason Richardson and then play the cash sound, so that kind of always stuck with me. But just remember coming to the games and being energetic, and it was super fun.
Awesome. Yeah, hopefully there's a new cheer for you too.
Most definitely. I hope so.
Awesome. Well, congrats. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
What's it like as a father to see your son almost follow your exact footsteps from Michigan State to a team that you've played for before? Just how proud are you to kind of see him follow you?
It is. It's really kind of weird and crazy at the same time. I thought he was going to Alabama. He chose Michigan State. To get drafted to one of the teams I played for is very eerie feeling, but it's still surreal, and it's just it's amazing that you get to be a part of a franchise like this.
What's most impressive about his game at this age?
His basketball IQ, the way he thinks the game, the way he sees the game, it's really special to watch. And when you watch him play, he's not going to wow you with a whole bunch of dribbling or crazy shots. It's his love for the game. He gets so much joy out playing basketball, and you could see it, and you can feel it off of him because he's getting the crowd into it, he's getting his teammates into it, he's excited about his teammates being so successful. So when you watch him, it shows the pure joy and love he has for basketball.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
We're with a good chat. How are you feeling today?
Super excited. Really glad to be here. I sometimes I just don't realize that I'm here, but it starts to hitting me step by step, and it's just a super dope feeling.
Is there anyone that on the team that you're super excited to work with, coaches, players?
Yeah, I mean, all of the staff. Like I said, I'm a player who really wants to develop myself. I'm really hungry to work more and more to be a really great player. So obviously I have two guys that I'm really aspiring to get to know more and see how they work in Paulo and France. So I think we have similar games with the versatility, and I'm just really excited to see how far they can take me.
How did it feel to be
Excited to see them take the court as well. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus on this Friday afternoon. We give you a live look right now at the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck chasing those storms throughout our area today as we watch them move through, see them on a number of our cameras, and have been seeing some of those impacts. We talked earlier with Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard about what you need to be watching out for, especially with the lightning, some of those other things as well. So Fox 35 News at 5, going to get a bit of a delayed start because of golf, but keep it right here on Fox Local. We'll have the newscast coming up in just a little bit. Hope you have a great evening. Fox 35 News Plus will be back on Monday. I'll be out next week, but you will certainly be in good hands. So keep joining us here on Fox Local and on YouTube. Have a great weekend.